Hello. Teaching research skills is time-consuming, like teaching math component parts and then recombined in unique ways. Students are taught to add, and then they apply that skill to lots of different disciplines. Students are taught to paraphrase, and they apply that to lots of different disciplines. But unlike adding, paraphrasing is perhaps a little bit more difficult to teach in the distance learning situation. When trying to find tools to help us teach anything, we can create our own content or find content, and both are time consuming. If we create our own content, creating content targets the learners that you know. You're creating it specifically for them, for your 6th graders, for your 8th graders, for your 10th graders, for your ladies, for your gentlemen. But it's limited by personal time, skills and technology, and sometimes even instructional knowledge. You wouldn't believe the number of times I've seen, heard teachers in the library give completely inaccurate instruction, even about MLA format, even from former English teachers. Or lots of teachers who just aren't experts in how to determine authority and haven't developed those little tips and tricks yet for helping students understand that. Finding content, however, is also limited by personal time, and we often think that needs a little bit of tweaking. It's pretty good, but I need to add this or say this or do this so it works for my students. But it can provide a valuable framework. So I have spent this week doing some extensive research for you to inform perhaps how you might want to pursue this in a distance, flipped, or even face-to-face learning environment. I am definitely a believer in not reinventing the wheel whenever possible. So for years now, I've been trying to maximize the experts in the room and previous work that's been done by other people. And one of those examples, I just want to make this analogy, is, for example, posters. Some of the best stuff you guys are doing in the classroom, I don't see. I can't preserve that. But all the posters that are made at Seed come through the library. So I gather them all together in a Google Drive that's accessible to all staff members, by all staff members. And for example, my favorite ELA posters that have been created over time, I've made sure to keep. And that way, if someone wants to come in and look and see what was created in the past, and then wants to either use that as an idea for something that they want to do, or wants to use that exact same poster, then that information is available to them. For example, this poster that was created on thesis statements. Maybe you love it and you want it exactly as is, or maybe it gives you ideas and you want to tweak some things and you want something similar to this. So that's what I'm thinking about with the information that I went out and gathered for our meeting for this project, was to go out and find out what already exists, and maybe you'll want to use it exactly as is, or maybe it will give you an idea for something that you want to tweak, or maybe you'll go, that's not even remotely what I want. I need to create my content from scratch. My goal is always to be a resource. I can do lots of research that you don't have time to do sometimes. So I actually have a research skills shared folder already in Google Drive. It's available from my Proto page. So all the student tools, everything I've ever introduced students to, is here on the student tools. The 7-step research project. This was a great note card kind of taking documentation source card about bias, text symbols for annotating text. I have an MLA template that I've used with students before. information about note cards and about doing it in Noodle Tools. Anything I ever work with students on, I didn't actually do TPACK, but in the past, teachers have used TPACK. Then I try to make all those valuable things available in the Research Skills folder. And then I also have Teacher Tools. And it also includes many things that I have often done with students in the classroom. I do a website evaluation activity, whether websites are hoaxes or not, and how to evaluate them. I have an entire lesson plan on how to avoid plagiarism that I like to use, and I wrote that out after someone asked me to one time. This never came to fruition, but just to say that things that we work on, I try to put so that they're available to me for the future and to anyone else. So another way to go would be to find content with tweaking. Determine what kind of content we want. For example, research sources. Here are research sources that I listed, and I'm probably missing some that it would be good to introduce students to over the course of their career at SEED. I always, of course, work on the library. I always teach students about the Dewey Decimal System. I don't spend any time on the Library of Congress system. I speak with students a lot about databases. We talk about internet search engines and academic journals and papers at the high school level. A lot of times we get to government publications, and we often do primary and secondary sources. But I could turn this into, instead of an in-person lesson, I could turn it into a series of video lessons, skills that we would want to break down. For example, I'm just going to take the Dewey Decimal System as an example. I could take what I do in the library and instead break that down into different video practice sessions. And if we use things like Screencast-O-Matic like this, like Edpuzzle, then there can be information embedded right into the video, right into information I found, information I created. Could have little quizzes right in there so that they're tracking the information as they go. In this lateral reading video that I found that was created by another teacher, they have an open-ended question here at 1:05, right there. There's a multiple choice question, which I couldn't stand, but when the content is created by someone else, you can't edit it at all. Or that exact same video that I found on YouTube, which is really well done about lateral reading. I put my own content in there. At 7:38, I have a multiple choice. At 11:05, I have another multiple choice, another one, and another one. And when students log into the class, then all that information is collected for me, that they have tracked and done this, and you can set it so that they can't skip ahead. But in addition to that, I was able to add some of my own content. Let me show you that.
Lateral reading too. However, it's important to note that many online news organizations have their own point of view. Sometimes these are explicit liberal or conservative political leanings.
And so I stopped the video here and added my own note, which I can set it so that students can't skip that. And this is why the Proto page has a tab on it for news sources, because news sources magazines can have a liberal or conservative leaning. So for example, on the news source tab, it has nonpartisan news sources. Now what I figured out, of course, is that what I could have done, instead of doing this all through, just taking this video and importing it into Edpuzzle and then making from there, I could have used my Screencast-O-Matic like I'm doing right now. And I could have taken, paused the YouTube video at that point and switched over to my news sources tab here on my Proto page, and then talked to students about that and demonstrated that, and then gone back to the YouTube video and added my questions and all of that back in. So I'm learning this at the same time. So this can be much more dynamic than my first little attempt was yesterday when I created this. And then my thought about how I might be able to help is going back to the same kind of posters idea that staff could propose or could create their own content, their own videos that we can keep. And we can create, instead of posters, Google Drive, it would be a research skills drive. And then within that, each one of the folders would be different topics within research skills. So something like this, similar to the poster page, where we have research skills and online lessons, and then accumulate, create, find, accumulate good content here, which I'm happy to start working on in any order that someone would prefer. I can do just-in-time content searching. That's not a problem. For example, I found the source evaluating sources. That's the one I've been focused on. This one is actually for middle school right here, so I would put it in the middle school folder. But if I open that, then here's the video.
Evaluate sources for reliability. When you research a topic,
it's pretty good. I also like this other one, Why Your News Feed Sucks, Smarter Every Day. I thought that one was pretty good too. And then on this page there could be the assignment also, which students of course are getting pretty good at copying, or can be put into a Google Classroom and then shared with students as an assignment. The other format is it could be done as a Google site, a digital portfolio. So instead you have all the different ones here, and then you embed your videos in there, put your assignments here, and have students work through things that way. So a couple different ways that it could be done. And then just to finish off, my focus was on research skills specifically, rather than research writing, teaching those concrete skills that then can be incorporated into the writing process. But during that time, my research, I also came across some highly recommended programs to help with the writing process, in some ways to help with research writing, and others just to help with writing. So one of them was Writable, and I've included a link here in the document for you. Another was WriteLike, which is text modeling using mentor text methods, and there's 2 reviews of that product. And then another one that was Writable. Oh, sorry. Hold on. Okay, and the other one was Quill, Writing Skills, Free Writing and Grammar Activities, and a couple of reviews for that. So in case someone wanted to check into those, or if you would like me to do another recap of those on another sharing time, I will be happy to do that. And then the last one, I just had to, this one I ran across, this little bonus, KQED Learning. This one really interested me. A forum to discuss issues that matter with other students across the country. And there are middle school and high school discussions. We're always talking about authentic writing practices, and this one looked really interesting to me. Although on the surface it has nothing to do with maybe research skills and writing, yet it does. Because if you're going to discuss topics with other people, it would be great if you had some information, some research, some evidence to back up what you're saying, that what you're writing, of course, that your opinion has more behind it than just, oh, I don't know, that's what I think, that's what I heard, so that's what I think that's the best. And so it's definitely still current with corona myths on there and coping with uncertainty in the times of coronavirus. There are, as I said, there's middle school topics, violent video games, vaping. Should teachers be armed at school? Should school start later? If we just take a look at that one for a moment. You can add it to Google Classroom. There is a lesson plan. You can see that there's 23 schools, how many responses, different citations. So I just had to share that little extra bonus for the day. As always, let me know how I can help, and I hope that some of this has given you some perhaps new ideas of how to tackle this.